Hello everyone. This video is the beginning of the series for how to set up a gluten-free, dairy-free, grain-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, grain-free bed and breakfast that's dedicated, or any dedicated space in your home for someone who's visiting for any length of time that is dealing with celiac, extreme allergies to gluten, which is wheat, corn, other grains, and dairy. And I specifically mention those because that's what I am. When I go and travel, I have to have a dedicated space. And part of my allergic reaction, my autoimmune challenges, have also to do with fragrance and chemicals that the rooms are cleaned by. I've had some of my worst allergic attacks, anaphylactic episodes, if you will, when I was traveling, because there's just a higher risk. There's less cleanliness attention, less sanitation, less disinfection. So the risk to myself is a greater risk. So it's really for me about controlling my environment. And it's not control as in my ego needs to control, my body needs the control to stay safe, to be healthy. I've just been damaged in my gut and my immune system way too long. I'm almost 70 years old now. And I'm just trying to make it a few more years. 10 more years would be great, to live on planet Earth and still enjoy some good years with my grandchildren and my children. Anyway, the first thing I had to do when I moved into this house was I left everything on the truck. Okay, I didn't do anything. We triple masked up. We wore double gloves, and then we put cleaning gloves on top of that. So medical gloves, and then cleaning gloves, and 3 different masks over our faces. I had very little protection around my eyes, and I wore a big scarf around my head. I wore full body coverage when I did my cleaning. Now, if you have a cleaning person who comes in and does this for you, you need to make sure that they're only using cleaning products that are compatible with somebody who has an autoimmune illness. Generally, those are going to be vinegar, hydrogen peroxide that's diluted, sometimes some essential oils like Thieves from Young Living. So with that being said, water, 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 rinse, 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 and it takes time. You just have to be patient. When a person travels like myself and I go into a hotel room, if I immediately smell chemicals from the cleaning products like Lysol or Clorox, I will immediately have time or struggle breathing. So those are important things for you to remember when you're setting up your environment for someone with autoimmune or celiac breathing issues to remember. No chemicals, no smells. You may even want to abstain using perfumes. There are some perfumes that I can use, but others I am ultra sensitive to and will have an allergic asthmatic type of reaction. So with that being said, after the house was clean, we steam cleaned the kitchen and the bathroom because my allergic reactions are just so high and I never know where the next one's going to come from if I don't know what's going on. It can be very dangerous. So steam cleaning, somewhat expensive. And finding some resource to be able to come in and do it on your schedule is another option. The options are another challenge, but the other options that you would have would be to clean, clean, clean. You may have a tendency to want to use chemicals. I would really advise you to not do that if your guests are going to arrive within 3 to 5 days, because the odor still lingers in the air. It'll be on the curtains, it'll be on the drapes, it'll be on the bedding, it'll be on your clothes, your hair, carpets, rugs, towels. So it just is not advisable to do that. Clean, clean, clean. It's hard. Yes, I know, but they're your friends, they're your family. Or in my case, it's a dedicated gluten-free, dairy-free bed and breakfast. It's my income, it's my livelihood. I protect myself just as deeply and as consistently as I do my guest. So, with that being said, after everything was cleaned and we started putting things away, as we put things away, we're washing and cleaning again. They were washed and cleaned before they were put in the boxes, but again, they are washed and cleaned. There can never be too much sanitation involved with someone who has an autoimmune illness. When I used to run the Holistic College in Denver, Colorado, my favorite class was sanitation and disinfection for hairstyling, for skincare, for massage therapy. I just did it because I understood it. I understood the microbes and the cells, the viruses, the bacteria that can spread. And it also made me feel really good to know that it was really, really clean and that people weren't going to be catching anything from the environment that they were inhabiting. I also did advise all of my students back then, just like I do my guests and the people that are around me now, that even though you end at the end of the day with things clean and sterile, you need to begin your next day with things clean and sterile. So don't assume that they did not get contaminated overnight. And in the case of food, maybe there was a delivery and that delivery box was sitting on a bag of flour that burst open. You've got to think worst case scenarios, because that could be someone's life, not just mine, but your grandma's or your uncle's or your father's or your child's. And so you can never, ever be too careful, because that's a really important factor. Now, I do all of my bedding in detergent that does not have fragrance. It also does not have propylene glycol. That's one of the most allergic reactive causations of any ingredient product that I've been able to find. So I make sure that my soaps do not have that. If you cannot find a soap that would be conducive, then I would recommend that you add vinegar to and baking soda to your water, dishwater, or your laundry soap water. Just use it like a laundry soap, and it freshens things up. It smells good, and it's very natural. I love using apple cider vinegar for everything. Now, distilled vinegar is usually derived from corn. So take heed of that, because if your person is abstaining from any grains, corn is not something you want to rub on their skin with their sheets and their bedding. So please understand that this is not simple. It's complicated, and it may be very opposite of the way you have lived your life. But again, think of why you're doing this, and there are a few basic steps that will go a long, long way. If most people with autoimmune are like myself, we're used to going to sleep with long sleeves, long leggings, socks on, and sometimes even a scarf around our neck so that we don't itch all night, or that we don't get a blister from a chemical reaction. So you may have to communicate with your guest on what their needs are and get on the same page with them. It never hurts to reach out and ask. So With that being said, my number one request is that there is no fragrance in the rooms because these people are highly allergic to fragrance, often also dyes. Fragrance and dyes, anything with petroleum, is a neurotoxin, and their system is already on overload. It doesn't need anything sedating their nervous system already or again. So, with that being said, I do not, for um, purposes of how I do scent a room, is I will use a distiller. And inside I will put an organic 2 or 3 drops in distilled water of an essential oil, and it's generally Young Living essential oils. I do not use or recommend any of these products. So, no scented candles, none. Get them away, get them out of the environment, and make sure that they haven't been in the environment for a few days. These little air wick things that you stick and plug in the wall, do not use them. They're highly allergic, reactive little devices. And then these kind of melting scented, this is called Woodwick Wax Melt. This one's a cinnamon chai. If your client is allergic to certain herbs or ingredients in food, you definitely, if they were allergic to cinnamon, you wouldn't want to use this anyway. But also, you wouldn't want to use it because the fragrance is a synthetic fragrance, and so it's going to make them very sick, especially if they have an autoimmune. So when I'm talking about an autoimmune challenge, I'm talking about your thyroid conditions, Hashimoto's, diabetes, detox issues. Anytime you see somebody with allergies, um, you're going to have to take a look at that. Some of the foods that they are eating, if they have an antihistamine in them, if they are preserved with neurotoxins, they will also disrupt hormone regulation. So those kinds of things will be challenging to somebody who is staying in your home as a guest, whether you're operating a bed and breakfast or not. You can make them feel much safer by clearing the room from top to bottom, wall to wall, floor to ceiling, and removing everything. As you're going to see, this room has been stripped down. It's recently been cleaned. I've ran the HEPA filter for today's the 3rd day, and I can walk back in here today. Yesterday, it was still giving me a headache. So with that being said, let me give you a look at the room. So this bed in here is a full-size bed, and it's brand new. The sheets are 100% cotton. Sometimes I like to use hemp also on the sheets because it is a softer product. Okay. Now, I like this bedding because it's very, very luxurious. You see that? And this is an electric blanket, even though it does not have the electrical. Very, very soft. So when you're choosing your linens, pillowcases, sheets, towels, bedding of any kind for your room, you want to make sure that it's very, very soft. A lot of people who have allergies also have very, very itchy and sensitive skin. So every fiber, like this chair, is a nice velvet. It's very, very soft. It's not a scratchy canvas. It's not a corduroy. It's just a very delicate, warm, soft against my skin. I mean, it's baby butt soft. That's one of my favorite things. And then the other thing that you might consider doing, and I've done this in all of my rooms, is I have these little pads that I have available in each of the rooms, and you can unwrap them. These are like hospital pads, but these are rewashable. So in my chairs, I put them as just like an extra cover. And sometimes I'll put a throw over it, something like that. One, because a lot of people who have autoimmune and or diabetes, thyroid, maybe beginning stages of kidney failure, heart failure, they will be incontinent. And so to protect the furniture as well as um, averting any kind of embarrassment that they might have if they had an accident or voided on the chair, they would not damage the chair. And so hopefully they wouldn't feel bad about it because I was prepared. Okay, so those are little tricks that I've learned along the way that really, really make a difference. This is the HEPA filter that I use. This one happens to be a Holmes. It's just turn on, dial the buttons, and then dial your length of time that you're using it. And I really, really do recommend this. After every guest, I run it for 3 days. And then sometimes my guests, depending upon what's going on in the neighborhood, what activities they're involved in. If they go for a hike, maybe the neighbor mowed the yard, the grass is bothering them. Maybe they got exposed to someone when they were out and about shopping with a lot of perfume. They'll come back and they'll run this HEPA filter, and it really, really helps them to calm down, to restabilize anything that they might have brought in on their clothes, and to just feel like they have a resource to help stabilize them again and to deal with regulation of their nervous system. Because sometimes getting an influx of fragrance can be very deregulating to the nervous system. It can bring on like a panic attack. And so those types of things are very unpleasant. Um, I have drapes in this room that are blocking. They have the backs to them that are white, but they're darkening room drapes. And then I like to choose all of the furniture and the colors, the decor. I usually go with silver or white. White has a tendency to pick up a little discoloration the longer you've had it, but silver works very, very well. And it stays very beautiful, stays still very warm in the winter or in the summer. And there's just so many things you can do with silver. You can do the silver plating, you can do silver furniture, silver bedding, silver drapes. I have silver rugs. One thing about the rug I will recommend is that when you get a rug, that you make sure it's washable. All of the floors in this house are hardwood floors. Carpet is not recommended for people who have allergies and autoimmune situations, because there's so many so much bacteria and different little bugs that don't agree with them that can get trapped into those fibers. So every time I have somebody that stays longer than a week, that rug gets cleaned in my washing machine on cold. And it's a beautiful rug, woven rug, but and it adds warmth and depth and protection to the floor, but it needs to be cleaned pretty regularly. So you may want to think about not putting in such an expensive rug as you would be maybe inclined to, because you're going to be washing it more often. Or you may want to buy 2 or 3 different rugs that you can rotate and only have them worn down a little slower over time. That seems to work for me. I also have one soft light at the bedside in this room. And I say soft light because the the room needs to keep soft light. If you got exposed to fragrance or dairy or I don't know, something you're allergic to, and it gave you a headache, you really are only going to want soft lighting in that room. And I have a touch point light that's at the side of the bed that is very soft lighting just to navigate the room if they get up during the middle of the night, that they have something to just touch. The light glows, gives them enough light to make it to the doorway to find the bathroom or whatever. Because my rooms at the bed and breakfast are not en suite, so you have to go into the hallway to get to the restrooms. And I have a tendency to not put a lot of electronics in a bedroom because people with autoimmune can also have things like Lyme and mold sensitivities or mold allergies or been exposed to mold. So, any kind of other virus and bacteria related illness that goes along with autoimmune, frequently I see. I think and have witnessed that they have a higher exposure to electronics if they're sleeping around that. So their phones are usually, 5 to 6 feet away. I don't even have an alarm clock in this room. There is a music CD player if they want to listen to a CD or something, then they can have headphones and listen to that. The TV that's in my autoimmune room is just for watching DVDs. It is not Wi-Fi. I have a history with a few people staying with me that they really reacted in a negative kind of crisis manner around Wi-Fi and cellular data, cell phones, things like that. So I just decided that one of these rooms could um, be free of all of that extra um, 5G frequency stuff. So we've removed it. There is an extra extension cord in this room in case they need to charge um, their computers or a massager. I've had a lot of people show up with their own massagers because and travel with someone with autoimmune, their muscles will tense up or cramp up if they're low in electrolytes. And sometimes driving will induce that because they don't stop and drink enough water, or maybe they're not being able to stop and get regular nourishment in a safe place, because a lot of neurotoxins are in the food system. As you travel, you'll see that there really isn't a lot of choices for food. When I was driving through Wyoming, I found one, uh, what do you call them, convenience store where I got gas. No grocery stores were open, no restaurants were open, and I got one little container full of cut fruit. And that's how I made it through Wyoming. So when I got to my hotel room that night, the last thing I wanted was a toxic room because I was not in a good space. So you got to think about the people that are coming and if they're very sick and what can happen to them and how you can support them. Usually, after a good night's sleep, the whole world looks better. And if you can be a safe place for them to have a good home for the night, a comfortable environment, a healthy environment, no neurotoxins, no odors, no fragrances, no flowers, no corn, no dairy exposure. You definitely are not going to put bath milk in their bathtub for them. You're definitely not going to leave out cleansing products that have milk in them or gluten of any kind or parabens of any kind or propylene glycol. So you're going to have to get choosy about the bath products that you're offering to your guest, or inquire that if they have their own, they're welcome to bring them, whatever it makes them feel safe. So this room is very simple. It has just a few pictures on the wall. It's a gray tones on the wall. There is a ceiling fan in this room because this is kind of an all year room. But for the summer, it does get warm. This is the south side of the house, so it will get warm. I do have a dresser in this room that has 4 drawers in it. And for people that are traveling, that seems to be just about right. This room is the extra room in my house that has a closet. So there is also hanging space and protected space that they can shut the door on. There's a full length mirror in this room. And then there on the top of the dresser is space for cosmetics or whatever they might need. Now, to have on hand for a bed and breakfast, I've never liked them. I never recommend them. And I personally never ever use them. And that's a microwave. So many of my guests have asked for them. We do have one on site. I do not plug it in unless it's like a mandatory, I can't talk them out of it situation. I just don't think that microwave food and autoimmune illness go well together. You need as many live nutrients, healthy, lightly cooked food as you can get, and microwaving is not a way to do that. So, with that being said, just know up front, I'm very anti microwave. And but there is one on hand. We don't like to use it. I had one gentleman even bring popcorn into my home so he could make popcorn in the microwave. Well, I'm here to tell you that did not go well. I have to protect not only myself but my other residents or guests as well that are staying here. So that person was asked to leave. Anyway, I just don't like to see contraband food, which is like cookies with wheat and cookies with high fructose corn syrup frosting, or people bringing in pop that has high fructose corn syrup in it, or I mean, anything with high fructose corn syrup, anything with flour, anything with dairy, corn, none of that. None of that. We have gourmet organic coffee. We have almond creamer. Um, I make treats for them every morning. I make breakfast for them every morning. Usually it's eggs that are free range. Uh, I go to great lengths to make sure that if we do have a bacon or a sausage, that it's a grass fed, that there's no nitrates, no sulfates in it, preserve wise. And we will have lots of organic fruit for breakfast. We do bananas, we do grapes, we do strawberries, we do raspberries, we do blueberries every day. We also do a lot of nuts around here. So we'll do cashews, macadamia nuts, we do peanuts, pecans, walnuts, pepitas or pumpkin seeds. Um, Seems like there's another one, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, so nuts and fruits are the greatest way to allow somebody with an autoimmune illness, a gut disturbance, to help digest their food or to help get nutrition in their body right away in the morning. Now, there's a caveat to that. You need to check with your client, with your coming guest, to see if they have any problems digesting nuts and the fruits that you're going to offer. If they do, choose differently. We also do oranges, apples, bananas are very popular. So all of the fruits, all of the nuts that we buy here is organic. I do not run the risk of putting a GMO product into myself or my client. GMO ingredients are genetically modified organisms, if you don't know that, and the gene is spliced with an antibiotic, a fertilizer, and a pesticide. Those are all neurotoxins. Nobody who has autoimmune needs to have that in their body because it complicates everything and it deregulates their hormone system. So, with that being said, do not buy any product that's GMO. One of my favorite labels is the non-GMO label. That's my favorite. My other favorite label is gluten-free, but then I still have to read the label to make sure that they think corn is not a vegetable. Corn is a grain, and dextrose, sugar, comes from corn. So you would not give someone with autoimmune or celiac like myself, and the allergic reaction to corn is just horrendous. I can't have cornstarch, I can't have corn syrup, corn meal, corn flour, uh, corn, high fructose corn syrup. Oh my God, just shoot me now. But it's not only an anaphylactic situation pending if I'm exposed to that, but it literally could be a homicidal situation. Um, my guest comes, let's say, and they grab a bottle that has high fructose corn syrup and they're highly allergic to that. They go into anaphylactic shock, and let's say they don't come out of it and they die. Now, this is my home. Who's responsible? They came in here. It's me. That means I just killed somebody who was allergic and I was the one trying to protect them. That's not really good for a reputation. It's also not good to do to your family. If you are a person who has a lot of allergies in your family, do your utmost due diligence to protect your guest. Okay? Because I've had guests bring, I call it contraband, products into my home. And we have to break the room down. We have to do the steam cleaning. We have to remove everything all over again and get it cleaned up. And that's not just for me, that's also for my guests. So when you're traveling, you think about how nice it would be to lay your head down on very soft pillows, bedding that did not have toxic chemicals on them, and that you knew you weren't going to be exposed to flowers and sugars and fragrances. Yeah? Sounds like a place you'd like to stay, I hope. Anyway, I look forward to helping everyone that is on this detox journey. And part of that is detoxing your environment. Part of it is being prepared for someone else to come into your environment who might be at risk. When you start reading labels and you start looking at all of the things involved in getting one little, I think this is like a 20 by 20 room together, you'll find there's a lot of work to it. So with that being said, I look forward to meeting you and hosting you at our dedicated gluten-free bed and breakfast.